I've been in France for over 5 years now, and during that time, gotten a little experience with French money and banking. And today I want to share with you 3 hidden costs of living in France. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome, and consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell so that each time I upload a video about moving abroad, life in France, or finding the confidence and courage to live life on your terms, you'll be notified. I'm Patricia Brooks, and over 5 years ago, I quit my project management job and I took a career break and moved to the south of France. And now I have started my own business here, and it's been a great experience. In this video, I wanted to share with you 3 of the hidden costs of living in France. Now, first off, I opened a bank account in my very first year here, and it was not an easy experience. I was taking French language classes, and one of my classmates said, "Oh, Patricia, you need to get the administrative assistant to schedule an appointment at the bank for you so that you can get a French bank account," because she did it for me, and now I have one. And so I listened to him. I really didn't have a need for a French bank account at that time, but I listened, and she scheduled the appointment. I went in, I had my initial appointment. I didn't have all the documents I needed. They sent me away to collect those documents, one of which was my landlord's identity card, or a French citizen's identity card, along with my rental agreement and some other papers. And I went back into that meeting, and I remember it being a really stressful time because my French wasn't that great at the time and his English wasn't so good, but we figured it all out. And he, took all of my papers. I went away, and 2 or 3 weeks later, I received my checkbook and my account and my debit card, and I was in business. I didn't really need the account for anything because I wasn't having anything direct deposited into my French bank account. I was just transferring some money from my U.S. bank account by withdrawing it from the ATM and putting it into my French bank account so I could use my ATM, and that made life a little bit easier. Now, that is, I guess, maybe even a 4th hidden cost that you might have if you have not set up a bank account in the U.S. I'm speaking for my experience only, where you don't have to pay a foreign transaction or withdrawal fees from your ATM, because that can get pretty expensive as well. So maybe that's a 4th hidden cost of living in France. But I had set up an account where there were no foreign transaction fees, and so that was not an additional cost for me. All right, so I got my account set up, and that was great. I didn't use it for a whole lot. But a couple of years later, I set up my French business, and I needed a professional business account. So I went into the local branch of CEC, which is my bank here. And when he pulled up my account, he said, "Oh, well, we can't do that. You have to go into the city, Perpignan, and get that set up since you set your account up, your first account up there." And I'm like, "Well, can you just have my account transferred since I'm living here now?" And he says, "Well, I'll call and see if they'll allow that." And this was a little bit of a surprise to me because, well, in the U.S., if I went into a different branch of my bank, they would service me. They would do what was necessary. It would not need to be transferred to this branch. Well, he called, and for whatever reason, they didn't allow it. So I had to go into Perpignan, which is about a 40-minute car ride, to get my professional bank account set up. And this time around, the experience was a lot different because my language skills were so much better. And that felt really good. And as she was setting up the account, she asked me if I wanted a cell phone plan through the bank. And I thought, ooh, I can get one of those, because at the time I was still paying for a monthly card for my cell phone. And I really didn't like that, but that was what was the easiest thing to do at the time. So I got that set up. And she also said, "Oh, well, you know what? There is a fee of 13 euros every month for your professional bank account." And I asked her, I said, well, is there a way for me to have that waived if I have a certain balance in my account during the month? And she looked at me a little bit oddly and she's like, no, the fee is 13 euros. And then I explained to her why I had asked that, because in the US, if you keep a certain balance in your account, then you don't have to pay for a banking fee. But that's not the way it works here in France. And so I said, okay, no big deal. So that's the first hidden charge or fee that you might have in France. It's nominal. My personal bank account is about €6 a month, but just know that if you're used to having free checking or free banking, it's not free here in France. All right, so that's the first one. The second hidden fee or charge or cost that you might have in France is with the exchange rate. Because when I first moved here, I was living off of US dollars. And 5 years ago, the exchange rate was not that favorable. It was about €1 equaled $1.20. So everything was about 20% more expensive. And in my initial months, I didn't really make the leap in my head. I thought €1 equals $1. But when I started buying things that were a little bit more expensive, like if I bought some merchandise that was €100, for example, I quickly realized that wasn't $100, that was $120. So that's another hidden cost that you might not be aware of. Now, today, the exchange rate is much more favorable. I think €1 is about $1.06, give or take, and that's been fluctuating. And I know even back in the summer of 2022, we had parity where $1 equaled €1. And so that was pretty amazing. So that could be another hidden cost and something you need to consider when you're moving to any foreign country, what the exchange rate is and what it could fluctuate to, especially if you're going to be using currency of your country. All right. So that is another hidden thing. And it can be easy to really just not make the leap in your head if it's not that different, if it's not that big of a gap. And you can find yourself spending more money than you realize because you haven't made the leap in your head. All right. So that's number 2. And finally, number 3 is value-added tax. Now, value-added tax is something that the French government charges businesses, and it's typically 20%. And French businesses then, in turn around and charge that to you so that they can recoup their money. And it's on everything. This value-added tax is on everything. Now, most things, like I said, are 20%. There are some items that are 10% or 5%, but for the most part, you're going to pay 20% value-added tax. Now, I experienced this when I was having my website built. I hired a woman who is in Spain. She did a wonderful job. And it was only then that I realized that, I'm going to be paying a lot more for this website than if I had hired somebody in the United States, because she's got to charge me this 20% value-added tax. So a $1,400 or $1,500 website is not $1,400 or $1,500, right? It's $1,400 or $1,500 plus that 20%. But when I realized that, I had already signed the contract, and so I wanted to honor that, and I worked with her, and I'm so glad I did. The other thing is it's on goods and services. So I also work with a French tax accountant to file my French tax declaration. And it's not an inexpensive proposition either. And on top of her fee, she's good, so I pay it. On top of her fee, she charges that 20% value-added tax, and I pay that too. So when you start to buy things that are more expensive, that are more than $5, more than $10, more than $50, you start to see that 20% add up. And so that can be a cost that is a little jarring. Now, have you ever traveled in a European country and experienced paying value-added tax, but were able to recoup that once you went to the airport and you showed your receipt and some other documentation? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if that was an easy process or not. So those are 3 hidden costs you might find, or 4 if you count the foreign exchange fees at ATMs, that you might encounter when you are living abroad. I hope you found this video helpful. If you're interested in other French cultural differences, you can check out these videos here. And I will see you again next time. Bye for now.